We start off with an introduction from our interpreter.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Gisela Escobedo. I want to say thank you for your commitment to language justice. Thank you for giving an opportunity where people can participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that they feel most comfortable in. We're going to be using simultaneous interpretation. So when I finish saying this in Spanish, we're going to turn on interpretation, and I ask that you please select your preferred language. Hola a todas las personas, mi nombre es Gisela Escobedo y quiero darles las gracias por su compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje. Gracias por dar la oportunidad donde las personas pueden participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, que es el idioma que practicamos y que usamos en casa. Para esto vamos a estar usando la interpretación simultánea. Cuando termine de decir esto, van a aprender interpretación y le pido que seleccione su idioma preferido. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and turn on interpretation.
Thank you, Gisela. All right, I'll call the work session of Sheridan City Council to order for August 25th, 2025, time 6:03 p.m. We have all council members except for Councilmember Stang, who has a birthday today. Her family took her out, so she may not be here tonight, or she may make it for the other meeting. I didn't pressure her birthday, so she doesn't want to spend it here. I think that's fine. All right, we're going to start with our goal setting.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah.
Does this one turn on and off? Do you guys know? We don't have to. I was just curious. But anyway, okay. But if I'm going to be speaking up here and I got this one on, then I don't want to, yeah, okay. Alrighty. So tonight we are going to do in a somewhat abbreviated version of our goal setting, just go through this process really as kind of a beginning or as part of our budget process so that we can have the consideration of our goals as our department heads are putting together their budgets and you're reviewing them for approval here later on this year. What I'd like to do is to start with our goal statements. Remember, our goal statements are the very high level, our highest level of our implementation matrix, which everybody should have in your packet. Does anybody not have the implementation matrix in front of them? Okay. So on the left-hand side, what I'd like to do, and if you guys have any thoughts on this, please jump in. You know, I'm pretty informal about how we go through this process. But what I think I'd like to do is review the goal statements, each of the ones separately, see if we have any additions, subtractions to those goal statements, make sure that we're happy with where those are at the moment. And then we'll go back and go through some of the objectives on each of those goal statements and see where we are on those and if we're happy with where we are on those as well. Okay? So starting with and then let me back up one step. So since we are a little bit pressed for time tonight, if we can get through the goal statements and objectives, then I'll have staff as part of the budget process, go through with priority action items and bring in those as part of that process for your information as well. And that's generally the way we've done it, with the council setting goals and objectives and the staff coming back with priority action items and looking at that. However, I'm not saying that council cannot suggest priority action items. Absolutely can. I'm not saying staff can't suggest the goals and objectives. Absolutely can. It's just kind of the more the purview as council is at that higher end, the 10,000 foot level, and looking at that, whereas staff I think is better situated to make very specific recommendations on priority action items. Jay, it looked like you had a question.
Is what's the best time to talk about new goals that maybe aren't on the matrix?
I think if we like a goal statement or some piece of the goal statement, right now when we're going to be going through them, I'm going to go through each one of them. And then if you have something completely new, maybe it can wait towards the end, or, or we can do it right now.
Yeah, or if it fits with
Or if it
whatever
fits
line
with
we're on,
something
you know what I
like
mean?
Fits with the
changing
goal
some
statement.
language and I will only preface this by saying we have to be conscious of how many goals we have. If you have too many goals, it becomes burdensome, unworkable for you as a council, us as a staff, and the city in general. So generally, something in the range in most cities, what I've seen, have somewhere in like 5, 6, 7 goals, something around there like that, and you keep them fairly high level and broad, and then get more specific as you work your way down through. So Jay, you'll have opportunity to talk about what you think it is, what you want, and how it fits into it.
Great.
Okay. Let's start with the first goal statement. The city of Sheridan will provide, maintain, and improve city infrastructure. Again, this is a fairly basic city goal, city goals 101. Every city has this kind of goal, but it is really our core business. We do city infrastructure. It's one of our biggest components in the budget and one of the things that people look for us to do the most. So with that said, is there any part of that goal or anything that you guys want to see changed or addition, subtraction, anything like that as far as when we talk about infrastructure?
Under
ahead.
improve increase city signage, would our completed project with the clock be part of that?
I think I've got that under some other areas on, I think it's on the one right above it, actually, Jay, on update, improve city buildings.
Yeah.
Is that first one up there? City Hall clock
Oh, okay.
replacement?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one that we got. And I will be the first to say, there's probably a few priority action items that I don't have completely up to date right at the moment, or that might be a little bit dated, but I also want to sometimes leave things in there so we can see, oh yeah, we did that. Remember, we did that. And just as context for the rest of things. Okay. And we'll go back through all the objectives when we get through with the goal statements. So I'd like to, if it's okay with council, go through the goal statements and we'll come back through objectives again.
Yep.
Okay.
Do it.
So it sounds like infrastructure, we're happy with that as one of our main goals. The second goal statement we have, the city of Sheridan will promote economic development efforts citywide. And you can see some of the objectives that are over there, but economic development, again, a fairly basic type of goal for cities. It's one of the expectations that people have for the city is that we work towards the betterment of the business community and everything that goes into economic development, which is beyond that as well, as you can see from the objectives, which we'll go over.
I wonder
But-
if we should just rephrase that to
Yeah.
say City of Sheridan will promote regional and city-wide economic development efforts, since we already have some regional in here.
Absolutely.
And
Somebody
we
have
just
like
joined the Englewood
pen?
Chamber, which is regional.
I bum a pen. Thanks, Chief. Do we got pins up here? Oh, okay. I got the Chief's got it. I just can't write with this big one on here. Regional. And did you say and local
I
or
said regional and citywide.
citywide?
Yeah, that's what we have there now, so.
Okay. I like that. Economic development efforts. Okay. Other thoughts on this goal? Okay. Again, we'll come back through objectives. Our third goal, the city of Sheridan will develop and support parks and recreation and trail and cultural amenities and opportunities. So again, here's your parks and rec. And we, a few years ago, kind of amended that to kind of throw cultural stuff in there as well.
It's all kinds of quality of life.
all
stuff.
kinds of quality, but you're right, Mayor. This is really kind of one of the areas where we throw a lot of quality of life stuff in there. There's also the other one that kind of catches that one, and we'll get to this goal statement. That's when we talk about supporting and promoting our small city sense of community, pride, and history, quality of life. So between those two, it kind of catches all of those levels of types of things that we look at. This one, I think we've looked at more focused towards Parks and Rec. And so if we have something that's very Parks and Rec or trail focused, we've stuck it in here. Neat.
I'm assuming that the RM is Randy Morning. And
Yep,
we
thank
should
you.
probably switch those out to Jeremiah now, right?
That one, I thought I caught all of them, but thank you. There's a couple RMs on that page. I missed them. I thought I got them all switched over there to,
That was that
Right.
other version.
huh?
It was that other version you saved somewhere.
It might have been. I've got so many versions of this this document. And the problem is it's been added to and evolved over time. Sometimes I have to like send it over to Jen and go, will you fix this? Because it's so messed up
Formattings.
with all the edits and
Yeah.
things I've done to it. No. All right. So city will develop and support parks and recreation and trail and cultural amenities opportunities. We're good with that one, guys? Okay. Next goal, fairly basic. City of Sheridan will promote and enhance public safety. So these are all of our responsibilities under that auspice of public safety, includes police, fire, other things as well. Are we having that? Jay?
So this is where I'd like to maybe talk about adding adding an objective to this.
Okay, can we hold on until we go through the other couple goals and we'll just paint the picture with the goals and then we can
Yes.
hop back to that? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just to make sure that in my thought process behind that is to kind of go through all the goals. So and have them in mind, right, with everybody, to have them in mind. And then if we have objectives, and make sure that we're sticking it under the most appropriate goal.
Great.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so public safety. Any changes to that goal or the wording of that goal? Okay.
It is Arapahoe County's #1 priority. And I wonder, is the order of these in their priority, or are they
No.
none of them are
No.
more important than the next?
No.
We've not ever used this document as a prioritization other than saying that all of these are all goals of the city. They're all objectives that we work towards. Sometimes we will prioritize them in the budget over, say, another. So sometimes we'll make funding priority decisions. But it's not to say that they're not all important. We really haven't ever used this as something to do that. And I would argue that the budget is a good place to do that, where you direct the staff saying, this is a high priority in the budget. We'd like to see whatever it is funded appropriately or funded at a certain level or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. The next goal statement, the city of Sheridan will support and promote our small city sense of community, pride, history, and quality of life. So again, another kind of a catch-all that has a number of different things in there. Any thoughts on that one? Okay. The next goal statement is the city of Sheridan will provide for a financially stable and sustainable municipal government. Again, this is a fairly basic in a government 101. We will provide a budget, financial documents, good financial management of the city on behalf of the council.
Yeah, this is kind of messed up, huh? Because I think some of these objectives are supposed to be under that are ahead of it.
No,
Like the
yeah,
city
you're
wellness
right, Mary.
plan and the
Some of the
budget.
alignment, some of the
Those are
alignment.
supposed to be in the next one.
I was making some changes
Yeah.
to this and the table gets a little whacked out.
Yeah.
So
Word's not the best for.
no, it's really frustrating and I'm not good at it. So I will get whatever we, after tonight, I'll fix
Okay.
the alignment on some of
Yeah.
these. Yeah, that should be up on top there. Okay. And then the last goal statement that we have is the city of Sheridan. And this is one of our newest goals. The city of Sheridan will promote best practices to prioritize and realize environmental, social, and economic sustainability. So this is our basic sustainability goal. We broke that out, as you can see to the right there. But this was something that became a priority for the council really as we were able to address some of the more basic priorities or goals that we had around like the infrastructure and the streets and things like that. And we realized that, we had the opportunity now that we'd addressed some of those very basic things that we needed to as a city, that we had the opportunity to expand and look at other things, things that would benefit the city citywide and that the elected officials were interested in. Sustainability, right, was right up there towards the top of that. Thus, our efforts along with the Tri-Cities on some of the sustainability efforts and the project that we're getting ready to kick off and with the improvements, energy improvements to the city hall and other municipal buildings. So,
Yeah. To your
yeah,
point earlier, you couldn't really set goals till you have staff to execute on them. So
we didn't
having
have,
Mel
we didn't
makes
have
us
staff.
able to have some goals.
That definitely, you're right. That definitely helped being able to say, okay, we have somebody that can take on some of these. Because we didn't have a sustainability coordinator, right, before Mel got here. And before we really couldn't look at affording somebody or attracting somebody for the small amount of time that we would have been able to offer. So that has been, I think one of the best responses to some of the goals that we've come up with is that sustainability program for the city right now. Okay, so there's our goal statements. I think, in my opinion, they're fairly, and they should be, they're fairly broad. They cover a lot of ground, which they should. And then we use the objectives to kind of hone those in and get a little bit more specific under each one of those areas. So do you guys feel that, are we missing something in our overall goals that you have as a council or as an individual council member that you'd like to have the rest of the council consider?
I mean, are we missing a goal statement that isn't listed?
Yeah, are we, I'm trying to think of like a good example. Let's say if we had, if we had a water department or something like that, right? We're under Denver Water, so Denver Water does all of our water and things like that. But if we happen to run a water department or larger, more utilities, we'd probably have some kind of a goal under here about utilities in general, saying, okay, this is what we want to see. This is our goal for the functioning of our utilities. They'll be sustainable, equitable, things like that, clean and safe, things like that. So are we missing something? Do we do something? Do you guys, or do you want to
There's
be
something
doing
we should be doing.
Is there something you think we should be doing that's not reflected in our current goal statements? I will say, I can't think of anything right now, really. But I'm not the end all of this. So that's why we throw it out here and think this. And again, guys, it ain't written in stone, right? We can change these as we move along as well. So we don't have to have it perfect tonight. And it changes, right? It changes all the time. Okay.
Nobody wants to set up embassies overseas.
Mm.
Send me off to be the ambassador.
Remember when I was a student and lived in Boulder, and the city of Boulder had their own foreign policy. And they had,
Just saying.
yeah, you can.
Okay, I
Well,
guess not.
okay.
We'll move on to objectives.
Well,
No.
me and Anthony, we were walking around getting signatures, talking to the public, and their concerns were city lights. They say Sheridan is too dark,
Mm.
and we heard that a few times. So maybe we might look at doing something about that.
Okay.
We'll see where that fits in here.
Yeah, well, it could be under public safety, it could be under quality of life, it
Infrastructure,
could be under a couple different things like that, and we can have, again, we don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect right now, but we can say, overall, we're hearing this as a concern. Maybe we put an objective somewhere in here, or we ask staff, okay,
Mhm.
staff, do you have some ideas about how we might want to
Right.
address this? And we can come back to you guys with that as well. But it could be, if we go back up to our first goal, and basically we're talking about infrastructure and some of the objectives, and I'm going to go through these and just kind of throw them all out here. Stormwater program review, update, improve city buildings, improve city bus stops, improve and increase signage, maintain and improve transportation facilities, develop and upgrade recreation facilities, and promote, or I'm sorry, improve city communications with the business community. I think that's under economic development, actually. See, I got another one that's a little out of whack right there. So if we're talking about, it depends on what kind of light or what are we talking about there? It could be an infrastructure. And it doesn't have to be under one. It could be under a few here, right? It could be a quality of life. It can be a safety issue. It can be an infrastructure issue, all of them at once.
Yeah.
And it depends on where we're doing it too. If
Yeah.
it's just the streets, that's one thing. If it's parks, then we'll bring in South Suburban, work with them or whatever, right?
So too dark. Is it part of Chief, the pin you gave me? Just
No luck tonight.
thank you.
Funny.
Okay. Too dark. So is this like in residential areas they were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Did they happen to think it was brighter before? We did the change out on the lights with Excel when
I just,
we converted everything to LEDs and it's more downlit rather than
Mhm.
yeah,
out like that.
I just think that they were talking about in the residential areas, their neighborhoods,
Yeah.
just saying that there's not enough lights.
That's a hard one because you'll get the people that say that, and I guarantee you, if you ask, you get the people come in and say,
Mhm.
I don't want it bright, I want it dark,
Yeah.
because,
Personally,
they're
I like the
bright sky.
street better now
Yeah,
because the light used to shine right in my bedroom window. So now it shines down on the street where it should
Yeah.
be.
but let's understand this a little better. So, but as a public safety matter.
Do they feel unsafe? Yeah, or probably, right?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say yes.
Because we've looked at things before with like security lights, putting together a program to help people afford to put security, like motion activated lights on their drive, out in front of their house or something. That, is something that cities have done before. And I think we even looked at doing that at one time. It was a while ago.
Well, let's not stay on it too long tonight, but maybe we can.
We can put, I wrote down
It's kind
city
of
too
like
dark and
in general
residential areas.
agreement that it
Yeah.
sounds like a priority, then, we can add it and maybe have Jeremiah come up with some
Absolutely.
ideas or best practices from other cities around
Yeah,
here.
and that helps us right now. Like I said, we'll chew on that and
Mhm.
figure out, okay, how's that? As long as the rest of the council's okay, saying, yeah, we'd like to incorporate this. I don't think anybody necessarily would be opposed to this.
Yeah.
But we'll chew on this and see how we can incorporate it and maybe come up with some ideas as part of the
Mhm.
budget process as well. Look at what other cities are doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see if we can do that. But I will put that caveat out there. This can be controversial,
Mhm.
where some people like it darker, some people like it brighter. Yeah. And it can be difficult to find that balance.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Other objectives or thoughts on this one with infrastructure. So with either the stormwater program review, which I'll be working with Jeremiah on getting that moving forward.
You can get that done by next year, right?
Well, I'd like to. Yes. Yes. We need to, just for the sustainability of that budget fund.
Yeah.
We absolutely have to. Updating and improving city buildings. We're getting ready to kick off the energy improvements to the building. That will help with kind of checking off a lot of the remaining items under that objective. Improving city bus stops. We're always looking at wanting to do a phase 2. We don't have, a lot of, I know it's on Andrew's list of things, and he's been looking at that. So that's something that we would like to see still stay on there because we want to be able to do that. Exactly what that looks like, still have to work it out a little bit more. Improving city signage, a number of things. This has kind of been on there for a little while, and it kind of gets kicked around a little bit, and we need to look at exactly what we want to do there. So I'll be the first one to say that we need to come up with a little bit better plan on the city signage. That was a lot of to do with entryway signage and some directional types of signage that people would like to see. That fits under a number. It's not just infrastructure. That can fit under quality of life in small city, and people like to see that. I know folks have talked about wanting to see like neighborhood signage out there so that they know, all right, I'm driving into this neighborhood, I'm driving into that neighborhood, it has people have a sense of identity and belonging in that. So we need to do, we have not done as much as we probably could on that one. Maintain and improve city transportation facilities. Those are kind of always ongoing and things that we are kind of constantly working on. The examples we have there are a few of the things like with the federal corridor study, right, which is being wrapped up. We'll see some improvements coming out of that here shortly. The other things that staff has discussed along those lines. One of the more recent ones we had was street reflectivity. I think, Jay, that was one that you had suggested, was looking at street reflectivity, the reflective properties of like some of our streets and
Yeah, I remember
paints,
talking
things
about
like that. Yeah. So we've got that on there. Again, haven't
Oxford medians.
Yes, Oxford medians. Now that check is for like old Oxford
Yeah.
medians. I think that was one that I would probably just uncheck it and say
Yeah.
Oxford medians again.
Yeah.
That we need to be looking at. So I think that will
It was on
uncheck
my list.
that one there,
Mhm.
Jay. It won't be completed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too as I was coming in here going, oh, that's not right.
Mhm.
I do want to bring up under that one that we had that memo from Natasha from the planning committee. I don't know if you all had a chance to read that. Maybe Andrew got a chance to look at it. But
Yeah.
she did have, I think some good points about considering, bike and pedestrian projects. And,
Mm-hmm.
I know I think our planning staff is actually really excellent at bringing in those considerations when a project is kind of ripe, when we're
Right.
ready to take action on it. And so
Right.
I appreciate that, but I do want to make sure we keep that in mind when we're talking about transportation facilities. So maybe we could even rephrase that as multimodal transportation facilities.
You're saying, right here.
Yeah.
Improve city. I'll make a note
And I
to
think,
incorporate multimodal in there somehow. Let me play with the
right.
language.
And I would love to see us, see if there's any low hanging fruit there that we might have thought was for our action as opposed to CDOT's,
Yeah.
especially on the federal stuff that we could maybe move on.
Yep. No, I think that there will be some opportunities with that, so. Okay, anything else that we have objectives? I'll touch on, I'm on the next page now, with developing, upgrading recreational facilities. I think that that's been, will come back into focus again with a new director for South Suburban Parks and Rec, getting that person in place and kind of settled in, and then be able to have some more discussions along those lines of improving the recreation facilities through South Suburban. So that will be something I think that discussion can start kicking back up early next year. So I think the new executive director is coming in next month or so, and it'll take him a few months to get a little settled, and we can then continue those discussions on the recreation.
Hopefully we're going to invite him here to see the rec center and
Absolutely. Give him the grand tour.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to him being here. And I was very impressed when I interviewed him. I was part of that process to help interview him. Was very, very impressed. Looking forward to him being here.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to under economic development. So we have objectives to improve city communications with business community, the Sheridan Redevelopment Authority. Again, that's pretty much the SRA just kind of is in maintenance mode at the moment, and there's not a whole lot we can do it, but we include that under there. Looking at vacant unused lot development, evaluating the city housing supply, looking at our retail marijuana program, and then support. I'm off one column,
Consistently
or I
one,
should say, yeah,
at least.
or one row on the whole thing
Okay.
needs to be shifted. I'm sorry, guys. Because that support parks and rec open space projects will be with the next goal statement. So, improving city business community communications, the SRA, vacant and used lot considerations, evaluating the housing supply in our retail marijuana program, looking at that. Other objectives that you guys might see or think about in that have to do with kind of economic development related. And economic development can be really wide ranging. So
I say at a really high level, have you considered bringing in another staff person for that? Because I think it's hard for you to wear both hats.
yeah, and I've been doing that, but I've also been engaging with other staff on
Mhm.
that. So I've actually been engaging with Heidi on our staff
Uh-huh.
to start going to some of the regional meetings and
Okay.
going and looking into that. So things that I maybe
Yeah.
not have time to do, and investigating, what are some of the best practices that we have out there that are going on? What ideas? So she's been attending like some of the EDCC meetings and things like that, just so that we are still involved in the conversation and doing that. So been looking at we've been doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a little bit hard for a city our size to
Mhm.
justify a full
Full-time,
economic
yeah.
development position. And you can look at between what I do, Heidi's been working on, and Mel with
Mhm.
sustainability and a lot in the business program through the kind of related to the business sustainability program, I should say, is very much an economic development program. So we're doing some things in there, and I'll reword some of this to make it a little bit more reflective of some of those projects to show it there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say it would be hard pressed to finance a position in the budget. If I'm going to be financing positions in the budget, there's other ones I would.
You would pick above that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be down the list a little ways. Yeah. Okay. Other objectives, economic development? Okay. Moving on with our Parks and Rec and Trail and Cultural Amenities. So objectives under there are support Parks and Rec and open space projects. Looking at rec center improvements, improve multimodal connectivity between neighborhoods. There's one, Mayor, and I'll tie those two together. The one that reduce crime and disorder is on the safety on the next one, public safety. So we only have a few under there with Parks and Rec and Trail and Cultural Amenities. You have any other objectives? And I'm throwing this out to staff too, if you guys have some thoughts under this as well. Support Parks, Rec, and open space projects. Those are kind of always ongoing, kind of a general objective that we work with South Suburban and others for participating in working on those projects. Again, we touched on rec center improvements when we will re-engage with the new South Suburban Parks and Rec director on looking at that facility and seeing what we might be able to do, and including the school district in those conversations. Improving multimodal connectivity. We got a number of things like that are ongoing, but also looking at some crossings potentially, as we can see there at Quincy and Federal, maybe at Lowell. Those are fairly recent additions on the priority action items. And looking at what will come out of some of the studies that have been wrapping up, say with the federal corridor study and others like that. There's some opportunities there as well. We don't have a whole lot in there right now, objectives that are what you could say maybe culturally directed, but some of those are fitting, I think, also under when we get to the small city sense of community, pride and history, some of those kind of in there. And I'll try and get a little bit better about reflecting them in both, if they are both.
I mean, we've got a couple of things that are going on or potentially going on that aren't really stated here, like we have Sheridan Rising doing a lot of programming that may involve the rec center, but it may not, right? I mean, they do
Yeah.
things otherwise. And I don't know if we want to continue to partner with them to do some of that work. And
Okay.
then, the soccer facility, that is going to be coming on.
Colorado Soccer Foundation.
That's also not directly related to the rec center, but it kind of fits with the new programming for families and kids action item, right?
Yeah. And I know that's brand new one.
Right.
And when we have time this fall to bring them in to talk to you guys and show you what we're talking about, I think you'll be very impressed and excited. And I'll include it in here at some point there,
Okay.
even though you guys don't know a lot about it right now. I know just a little bit more about it, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, assuming the rest of council feels like those are both worthy, things to make sure we promote within the community. I think they're great anytime we can partner with someone else to bring new programming for families. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that would be partnering with the nonprofit and the school
Mhm.
district on that particular project, so. Okay. These are good thoughts. Okay. How are we doing? Okay. Promoting, here we are, public safety. So the objectives under public safety, let's make sure I don't miss one there. Reduce crime and disorder, enhancing community and police partnerships, enhance service through technology, training, and retention, provide effective and efficient municipal court services. And then the next one is correctly lined up. Okay. So those are the four objectives that we currently have under law enforcement, or I should say public safety.
I would like to see something done about traffic on Oxford. Because it's like school's starting right now and then try to get out of there on the traffic when school's let out at 3:30. You have all the kids coming out of there from the schools and everybody trying to beat this one lane, trying to get into this one lane, trying to get into another.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
trying to control the speed on there or something.
I would maybe say that we would look at that, not necessarily, I mean, it can be, has a component of public safety with it,
Mhm.
but that might be more of a community development issue and things like that, and potentially public works and looking at whatever solutions it might be. It's going to be,
Something for the
it's going to
school-
involve
Maybe
several
something for the school board.
department. It could be, we
No.
can look at that.
I-
So,
Oxford's Road is Sheridan.
yeah, so
it's not-
traffic on Oxford.
Yeah, you got to see it is
Specifically, so I mean, like right here by the, with the
from
school
Federal.
traffic,
from Federal to Low or Irving.
so school
Right.
traffic pretty much.
I mean, it's all traffic. It's not just the school. It's people coming up Oxford, trying to get over into that one lane. It's not only the school, it's just everybody. You got to sit out there and watch it.
Oh, I've seen it.
What lane are they trying to get to?
When there's two lanes, then it goes down to one. So the guys that are in that
Oh,
one
to
lane,
get out of the
speed-
turn lane, you mean?
yeah, to speed up and try to get over.
Okay,
You see it every day.
okay.
Do we have any of those cardboard cutout police officers? No, they used to work good back. I'm serious. They used to work good back in the day. They always made me slow down when I was driving to school, running late, and I always thought it was a cop actually there,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't until you went down a little bit, and then the cop was actually there. But things like that. I mean, you
But
gotta.
are you talking speeding or are you talking
I'm talking-
volume?
I'm talking just in general, everything.
Because generally, if you have a whole lot of volume, you don't have a lot of speeding
Oh, no,
because
you
there's no
do.
room for them to speed.
Yeah, you still have speeding. You got to sit out there and watch it.
What?
I sit out there every day just watching them, just see.
Yeah,
when it-
I know what he's talking about. Basically, like if they're coming across Federal and they're trying to hurry up and head
Yeah,
over to keep going straight because that lane turns into
Yeah.
the school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So everyone's trying to really like jump over,
Mm.
even though it's supposed to be 20 miles per hour
Yeah.
during this.
and they're doing it
Okay.
during school and all that. It's
Okay.
fun to watch.
So that.
It is.
Mm.
'Cause someday
Take away your fun?
they're gonna hit something or they're gonna go through somebody's fence. They already did it a tree
Hmm.
when they hit that bump.
Okay. we'll look at, let me work on the language for an objective on that. Would that be, it might be like traffic, safety, neighborhood traffic safety. Let me chew on that a minute. and
Okay.
See what that might be and see where it fits best on here, because it could fit several different places or so.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I
Other
would,
thoughts on,
I would just like to say I'd like to see crime metrics move up the list to get actioned because like the stormwater, it's been on here for several years. We have
Okay.
yet to see any metrics. I think it's important because then we know how to prioritize the other public safety items. You know, we know if we have a problem or not. We can, I mean, personally, I feel like it's a safe city, but I have no metrics to tell people otherwise when they say it's not, right?
and I know the chief has been working on that, and we've been looking at
Mhm.
trying to figure out some solutions
Yeah.
and how that works.
That's another
Just,
place
yeah.
where maybe we need a staff person.
And
you know?
we've been having discussions about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have people who have that technical skill.
Yeah, we've been trying to figure out how, because there is a bit of a personnel component to that
Mhm.
generally, especially if you want something specific,
Yeah.
which we do,
If you
right?
wanna
We
be
don't
able to-
want just
I
some,
mean, I would love for you to do some really nice dashboards and
Yeah.
things for us, which might take specific skills, you know?
yeah, yeah. But so I know the chief has been working on some solutions towards that. Thank you, Mayor. Jay, did you have one that you wanted to fit under here?
Yeah, so under the city of Sheridan will promote and enhance public safety. We have our 3 or 4 objectives there. I don't know exactly where this would fit in, but I'd like to see us develop a drone as first responder program, which, you know, could require finding the grants and hiring the pilots. But I think that Sheridan is a perfect little city that could have a drone that leaves from here and is the first eyes on the scene to make it safer for the police officers that are on the way, to monitor stuff like, you know, fireworks at certain times, but as the first responder. And I'm seeing other cities that are using this very effectively. I spoke with the chief about it, and I think that it'd be a really great addition to our police department to be able to use the drone that we already have, but without someone having to see it, to have a pilot in a control room or something that can shoot this thing up and make it to a domestic abuse scenario before any of the officers have to walk in. They know what they're faced with.
I would, and I talked to the chief briefly about this one, and don't disagree with you at all. It's a very interesting program. And what I would recommend is something like under enhance service through technology training and retention, that we do a priority action item that says something like investigate a drone program for the city, because I think that's gonna take a bit of work, right, to be able to figure out, okay, if the city wants to do this, what does a program look like? How much does it cost? What is the upfront? What's the ongoing? You know, all those kind of things like that. And so look at including it that way so that we can kind of begin that process of looking at that because we've not done anything like that.
Do you guys think that that's
It could be. I don't think
be a
it's,
valuable
it's bad to look at it. I mean, I would really usually defer to the chief on, what some of those best practices and
Yeah, and it would be,
departments are right now,
I would look at that, whatever kind of program it is, whether it's a police program, community development planning program, anything, something like that. I'm going to talk to my department heads and say, what do you think about
right?
this?
Or
Is
what
this
have you
something
heard?
that you
'Cause,
want?
I mean, they go to conferences.
Yeah, it's like,
hear-
is this something that you want to include in your budget?
Yeah.
Is this a priority for you for spending money? And look at, have that whole discussion, and we're happy to do that.
good? And in that investigation process, we'll find grants. So to where, I mean, we're gonna have to add money into this to
Yeah,
be able to
we'd have
gotta
to look.
find it.
Yeah, we'd have to look and see, what's available, if anything, out there right now. Unfortunately, the grant picture's not looking too good. At state and
It depends on where you
level
look.
right now. It's a little bit frustrating, but
Mhm.
yep.
Mhm.
But absolutely, we can put that in there.
Great, thank you.
Oh, you bet.
And I have one more thing for the public safety part of it, but it could also be city signage.
Mm-hmm.
Corresponding with our Sheridan Safe and Safe Streets programs, I would like to see signage with QR codes, click to call, anonymous crime reporting, so that someone walking through the neighborhood would see a sign. If they're in distress, they can scan a QR code, call the number on it, where like our navigation centers, they find out what that person needs and which direction they're going to go. And I think that we could use that type of signage on the streets, like what used to be neighborhood watch kind of signs, but it would be more of something that someone could scan on their phone, take them to a page. We worked on this with Amy a while back, but I think it's really doable signage that could be put on existing, like
Just for like non-emergency things.
I would
then?
say both.
Well, I mean,
Non-emergency
I'm not gonna
and
stop and scan a QR if it's an emergency. I'm gonna dial 911, right? I mean, but
Sure, but if you saw someone getting, like I witnessed a woman getting beat up the other night on
I would call
camera.
911.
Yep. Well, when they're right outside the window and it's late at night and the phone and the light of the phone and speaking, they would know exactly who was calling 911 if it was me that had called. Unless I want to go shut all the windows and make that scene as well, but it was happening right outside the house where any of the bedrooms, you could hear that from the outside if we were calling the police. And when there are gangsters involved, it's not, for me, something that I want them to know.
I'm not putting the pieces together. So how do the signs help in that scenario?
Anonymous crime reporting, where if it was a phone number, a text, like you text crime reporting to some number and it initiates a text string, but something so that people that are not gonna call 911, people that are afraid to report on their neighbors, where they have a safe way to do it that is, something that they may walk past every day that reminds them that there's a safe, anonymous way to report crime.
What I'll say about this, Jay, is that because I know you and I and the chief talked about this previously, and the chief and I gave you several reasons why we did not support that idea and why we thought it would not be effective. And I respect your opinion. I get with them, but I got to listen to my chief too as well
Sure.
and see what that is. How about if we looked at doing something like this? Because it seems like your goal is to get towards anonymous crime reporting opportunities, right? To facilitate anonymous crime reporting that's beyond the 911 or whatever it might
Right.
be like that. I'm happy to have us kind of look at seeing what options, besides looking at the signs and those kind of things, and see what other options there might be out there that we'd be able to, the police department would be able to support.
Great.
Is that okay? Is that kind of language and that's gonna, so I wrote down anonymous crime reporting. They'll fit under there as one of the priority actions items under an objective.
So the
Take a
main
look at that.
goal with that then is to not identify your phone number with the call. Is that? I mean, I'm trying to understand how
Yeah,
it's even
yeah,
anonymous.
I mean, if it was a QR code, takes you to a form on our website that you can click, what type of crime you're reporting, put some notes in.
Mhm.
And I think there's some opportunities to do some of that stuff, and maybe it's an education program that we're looking at or getting information out to people on different ways to report anonymously, whatever. Because,
Yeah.
like the schools have Safe to Tell, right? A
Right.
person can call up there and do that and use Safe to Tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk with the chief and we'll look at what are some of those options are out there. Because I think it seems like that's what you're getting towards, is that anonymous reporting capabilities to be able to do that. And I know it exists in some aspects. We can look and see if there's other opportunities for the city to get involved with that. I don't know enough about it, but we can look into it.
We currently have a tip line. I mean,
Yeah,
that is
tip line.
available. Maybe getting that information out more would help. I could see where you're saying the signs, if there was, the number and or a QR code that would take you. I get that. The tip line, of course, would not be, we wouldn't have personnel on it 24/7. That'd be a spot where someone would just be waiting.
Message or
We'd have to make
something.
sure that people know that's not for emergencies. It's for, follow-up items. But we do have the tip line. I could see incorporating it into signs if the city found, you know, the means to do that. Um, and, and I know your QR code idea was like, so you could do it electronically and not just have to call it in. And so, you know, if we had the money to do that, I could help try to find ways that we can do that, but.
We can look at it for sure.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you bet. Okay, anything else under public safety? Okay, we can do this, guys. We're almost there. All right, promote our small city sense of community pride, history, and quality of life. Under there, we've got support attainable housing opportunities and housing improvement programs. You guys are pretty up to speed on all the things that we're doing on that right now. Promote community gatherings. Those are kind of, you know, our fairly standard events that we have out there, but if we have thoughts for other things that we want to be able to do, would like to consider those as well. Again, I caution us, we are a small city. We can't do events every single week of the year. We just can't do it, okay? I love events too, but we can't do 100 events a year.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah,
We have coffee with council on that. Is that something that you guys are interested in bringing back? I know we haven't done that in a few years. Is that something?
Only had one complaint since we canceled it, so.
it was never really,
It did go well for a while. I mean,
For a
there was
while.
a long stretch before COVID where we were getting, you know, at least 2 or 3 people every time we did it, which isn't bad for Sheridan,
Yeah.
you know?
and COVID
But,
kind of killed it.
Yeah, then COVID just stabbed it in the heart.
Yeah.
No, nobody
Other
wants to
things
come
that
out. I don't know, but we'll see, you know, ask the next mayor what they want to do, you know?
Sure. Okay. One other thing that I'll throw under, so we've got to promote together, I'm sorry, I'll keep going and finish this off. Develop public comms and outreach strategy, which you've done a number of things on there. Promote community and neighborhood pride. Support city employee wellness program and community health efforts. And that's it under that one right now. One other one I'll throw in there is more of an action item, but and we might not do this right away, but in the next couple years is update our comprehensive land use plan. Andrew kind of starts to twitch when I tell him that. but We're gonna have, we're
getting
coming up due
close.
on it here in the next couple years. Yep. So just to throw that out there, I'll let you guys know I'll incorporate it into the matrix here.
I'm not
Uh,
sure if this is where we want to fit this in, but engage the youth or establish youth commission council.
We used to have that in there. Where was it?
If it's in here, I missed it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I had it in there somewhere, Michael, and I can't remember to tell, but I will jot this down.
Maybe whatever one you set up for the other things I mentioned about youth programming, you know?
Yeah,
We can put it under that same objective.
yeah. We had,
Because I mean, I think that's a good objective, you know, not just for something for kids to do now, but it gives them something to put on their resume in the future, you know, or their college applications or whatever. I think that's great to have those opportunities for the youth in the community. You know?
mm-hmm. Let me, gosh. We had it in there for the longest time and it didn't, you know. But I will incorporate that.
It's one of those ones where
Yeah.
you probably checked it off at some point.
It
and
might
then-
have somehow.
And then it went away.
Yeah.
again. And- yeah.
But I thought we still kind of had that in there somewhere, but I will incorporate that.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm gonna say maybe we should re-engage in enforcing current codes. Maybe put a little more effort in on code enforcement.
We have one priority action item, Mayor, under promote community and neighborhood pride, an annual code enforcement
Yeah,
campaign.
I think that was more like informational. I'm talking about enforcement.
Enforcement. Okay.
I mean, I've heard complaints about, you know, junk cars, which we have an ordinance against. They shouldn't be out on the road, and that's
Yeah.
usually pretty easy to tell, you know?
Right.
There was a time where they used to come and put a chalk on the tire, and if it wasn't moved within 72 hours or whatever it was, they would tow them.
Yeah, or the registration's not even up to date. It's not moved, you know, in weeks, and it's just sitting there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can do registration enforcement now where we couldn't
Yeah.
before.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think
Okay.
That would
But
be.
don't get me, my
one.
plates are on the way. They said 6 to 8 weeks. I ain't seen it, so tell you what.
Just don't do that neighborhood over there.
No, we'll give,
Uh,
give you a call when we're headed your way.
yeah.
Just as a side note, as you were saying about we could do the enforcement out for registration, that is something that just came out
Mhm.
in this legislative session, so at least we can help you all with that one if you need.
Yeah.
Do we need to do anything legally
We
with
could
like an ordinance or,
We can change the ordinance and modify some stuff,
yeah,
and I'll bring that.
at least give us the opportunity if we want to be able to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I
Okay.
mean, that was the very first thing I did when I joined council was write the junk car ordinance and then give
Yeah.
it to Bill Hayashi.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
There's-
let's enforce it a little, you
there's
know?
There's a lot of broke down vehicles,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and it does make the neighborhood look crappy, and it takes up parking spots.
Yep.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. All right. We got 3 minutes.
I have
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
So I'm gonna assume this would go under, promote best practices to prioritize and realize environmental, social, and economic sustainability.
Okay.
We had that waste diversion
Study.
presentation and that whole summit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so our goal for 2026 is free recycling,
Mhm.
right? For
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so, and you touched on one of the things that I have written down at the very end here is the engage with the state and the community on the producer responsibility program.
Mhm.
So that's the statewide program that's going to be bringing those monies to all of the local governments in order with their goal to provide free recycling, right? And as part of that, and we're going to have some options since we already have a program in place and we have a recycling program in place, curbside. When we find out how much that money is, what that's going to look like and how it's exactly going to work, we'll have the opportunity to incorporate that into our program and say, okay, do we want to look at lowering rates, from where they currently are? Do we keep rates the same and include more services without increasing rates? So we can have that discussion. And I think a lot of what you're looking at talking about there, we'll absolutely be having discussions with council just once we know how much that's going to be. I don't know exactly how that is right now. And a lot of that's going to get kicked off. I can't remember the timing on it, but I know Mel is very well plugged into that for us.
Yeah, I had like 5 items here that were like action items for the sustainability area, but they're all the ones that were in the presentation, basically,
Yeah,
the ones that were the identified action items for Sheridan. And I think all of those, we have to look to Mel to figure out like the timing and to you to, to figure out how that works with the extended producer responsibility. But the one that I think is just us would be the equal space ordinance. Right.
Yes, right. Yep. And I know that's on her, and I think that's on Betsy's list too. I can't remember that equal space, like giving the
Making sure
equal space is
family has
included.
recycling space.
Yeah, for recycling is
Yeah.
included when you have a requirement for dumpster space and all that kind of, I think we got that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Real quick, was there anything under financial that you guys want to do? Pretty much we have the budget, the audit, and we do a class and comp study, about every 2 or 3 years. We're pretty well caught up on that at the moment. Stormwater, it's under there. It needs to be addressed. It's again a financial issue. And then all the sustainability issues there as well.
Yeah, what if we have an objective of produce a comprehensive annual financial report, but we never do that. We
The
just,
CAFR?
yeah, we don't have a CAFR. We just have financial reports.
Yeah, we don't do anything quite as full blown as the CAFR.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to just change that, but
Yeah, I'll look
or
at
do we
that.
really want?
What do I
that
call
one?
it in there?
No.
Where is it? Oh, okay. I'll change the language in there so
Okay.
people don't think that we have a CAFR.
That's one of our goals to like start doing it or something. I don't.
Well, I don't know. We can watch Teresa Twitch. If
Yeah,
we want to do a CAFR. Yeah.
this is going to be the 25-26 goal
Correct.
implementation
Yeah.
matrix, so
And we'll have an opportunity to review it again. And, you know, potentially we're going to have several new members on council. So we're going to be, probably do it earlier rather than later next year with potentially new council members and have an opportunity to have a longer regular, like a regular session that we do to bring those new members up to speed on what it is and then talk about, you know, new goals and objectives with the new council. Is that where you're going with that, Jay? I'm sorry.
well, we should change that date on the
Oh, I will. Yeah, sorry.
just on the head.
And this is again, document issues that I have because I'm not good at changing headers and
Word tables are hard.
table, making things, you know, align.
I'm making
Yeah.
notes on all the digital.
These
copies.
guys.
So I've already got the header correct.
Already changed.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay,
Get my page numbers to line up in the middle. It's just like,
yeah. I feel like, you know, if it's not objectionable to you, that if people have more things they think of by our next meeting, maybe they could bring those up. Because like, I know Desiree couldn't make it tonight. so
Without
she
a
may
doubt.
have a few
Yeah.
things she wanted to add, you know?
look, we just try and carve out some time so you guys
Yeah.
can do it together as a thing. So if you have ideas that you want to include in here, we're all ears anytime, all the time. We can do this, you guys. It's not it's not an issue. What I would request, so let's say Desiree has an idea, I want to be able to do this.
Mhm.
So if she emails me, include everybody so that everybody
Yeah.
can hear it.
Well, we don't want to make a
Right.
public meeting, do we? I don't,
As long as it's just, as long as it's just informative.
Doesn't ask
And we're
for
not
anything?
voting on it
Okay.
or anything like that,
Yeah.
then we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of ideas.
And we can always, when we
That's why-
formalize anything, Mayor, we'll bring it here
Yeah.
to the council as a
Right.
whole and do it that
yeah.
way.
And I think everybody here knows, you know, it's all depends on what we all think, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bring whatever idea, you know, if Desiree comes back and says, I want $30,000 for art, we'd have to be like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
think about
mean,
that.
that
What
was-
would that
yeah.
look like?
Yeah. That was on my list. The block party, the city artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some stuff. I would like to see a splash pad since we're not gonna get a swimming
Mm-hmm.
pool. We can.
No, we've had splash pad on there for a while.
Yeah.
I brought that one back a few years ago. I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, yeah. So see, there we go.
Or a creek or something, you know, some little play area.
There's Lakewood, and I don't remember what park it is. It's on, one of their parks on a hill and it has a creek that goes, it's a man-made
Yeah.
creek that goes through and it's only about like that deep and the kids
Yeah.
love to like splash in,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. It's cool. Okay.
Great. Well, we're a little over.
Are we good for right now then? So I'll go to work on this
Mm-hmm.
and I'll probably come back. I'll see if we have time at a work session, but we're going to be jamming budget stuff out here pretty quickly. If we have time to do it in a budget session, I'll do it with a budget session, or I'll kind of just email it out to everybody too and just take a look at it and make sure it's reflective of what you want it to be. I'll highlight where new items are, new language, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody, for your ideas. Appreciate it. Okay, well, we'll close the work session at 7:03 PM. And if everybody's good with it, we'll get rolling right into the
Vamos a
regular
empezar
meeting.
directamente.
Go ahead, Gisela, you can introduce us again, Gisela.
Thank you. Thank you for your commitment to language justice, where everyone can participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that they feel most comfortable in, that it's the language that we practice at home. So we're going to be using simultaneous interpretation. When I finish saying this in Spanish, we're going to turn on interpretation and you're going to see the globe icon on the bottom of your bar. Please select your language so you can participate and practice language justice. Hola otra vez, gracias por su compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje, donde todas las personas pueden participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, en el idioma que se sienten más cómodos, que es el que practicamos en casa. Así que cuando termine de decir eso, van a aprender interpretación y usted va a ver el icono de globo en la barra debajo de su pantalla. Por favor, seleccione su idioma para participar y practicar la justicia del lenguaje. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and turn on interpretation.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, still making notes from the last meeting. All right, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council for Monday, August 25th, 2025. Everyone could please sign in on our application. We have all members present except for Member Stang. Can I get a motion to excuse Councilmember Stang since
I'll make a motion.
out?
I'll make a motion to excuse
Okay.
Councilmember Stang.
Okay, got a motion from Councilmember Kelly, second from Councilmember Moreno. Everybody please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. All right, we'll move on to the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, you are the God of all creativity. You created the world out of nothing. You spoke everything into existence, and all of us are here as a result of your incredible creativity. We ask for that same creativity to flow through us as we discuss and brainstorm ideas. May your Holy Spirit inspire us with fresh perspectives and innovative solutions. Help us to think outside the box and see things in new ways. We believe that you have equipped us with unique gifts and talents for this meeting. May we use them to bring about your will and accomplish our goals. We pray that you give us the courage to step out of our comfort zones and try new things. May your creativity ignite a fire within us to pursue excellence and make a positive impact. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to our agenda?
No changes to the agenda, Madam Mayor.
Great. Our first item today is a presentation on the DRCOG Regional Housing Needs Assessment.
The mic on? Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this evening on DRCOG's Regional Housing Needs Assessment. Before we begin tonight, I do want to remind Council that Sheridan is still working on its own housing needs assessment with Economic and Planning Systems, or EPS. So where we're at with that study, we actually received their final draft at the end of July. So we're currently reviewing their draft, and then we'll be scheduling some time here with Council in the coming months to review that separate study. And then also, we're also working through our Livable Centers grant with DRCOG to create the second part of the housing needs assessment, which is where we have to develop some strategies. So just wanted to remind everybody about that because we're going to be talking about DRCOG's regional housing needs assessment tonight, but we are still working on our own. Next slide. All right, so the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. So this was initiated by the DRCOG board back in 2023 to get a handle on understanding regional housing challenges. And really what DRCOG wanted to do was establish both the scale and the scope of the issue for informed decision-making. Next slide. So DRCOG understands that there's definitely a need for regional coordination, especially when we're talking about housing. I think we really know this here in Sheridan, being a commuter city. So in our EPS report, we found out that 99% of workers in Sheridan commute into the city from somewhere else to work, and then 96% of Sheridan residents commute out of the city for work. So we are really well integrated in the Metro Denver economy, and I think there's some interesting implications for our housing studies as we work through this. Next slide. So DRCOG conducted quite a bit of stakeholder engagement. I think one of the attachments to your report tonight was about 56 pages detailing all of that engagement work. So it was pretty robust. They met with local governments, planning staff, city and county managers. They also met with home builders associations, developers, so really the full spectrum of housing. I thought they did a really great job. It was fun to read through all of that. Next slide. So this kind of brings us to the Sustainable Affordable Housing Act, or Colorado Senate Bill 24-174. Next slide. So this law was passed last May at the legislature, and it requires that local governments conduct their own local housing needs assessment that conforms to DOLA's methodology by the end of next year. So as a reminder, DRCOG began their study back in 2023. So I think they could tell that something was coming out of the legislature and wanted to get ahead of it. So they got their study started. So Sheridan is subject to this bill. However, we will be able to meet our obligations under that bill through conducting this public review tonight here at City Council. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we're participating in that housing needs assessment to get that credit. Next slide. So how we can participate. So they started their study back in 2023. The legislature passed their law, and acknowledging that there are some smaller cities within DRCOG's boundaries that may not have the capacity to take on a full housing needs assessment. It's a lot of work. There is a cost associated with it. DRCOG kind of petitioned the state and DOLA to see if they allowed for what they were calling meaningful participation by cities to participate in DRCOG's plan, that would count for some of these smaller cities' requirements under that bill. So they were successful with that. And as a result, we have a 60-day review period that they set out, which is July 14th through September 12th. So just as a reminder, this is just a public review and comment session here at tonight's meeting. So we don't need to pass any sort of resolution. We don't have to endorse the findings, even if we disagree with them. We're just conducting this public review, and then we'll send them some comments, and that will be our participation. Next slide. So they are asking for basically correspondence that we completed a review at a public meeting and then forwarded any comments to them. So I did include a draft letter from the mayor in tonight's council packet. So what I would like to do is compile any comments we have after this evening and provide those to DRCOG by the end of the week so that we get in before that September 12th deadline and meet our timeline there. Next slide. So as I said, key deadlines, there was a 60-day review period. September 12th is the last day we can submit written comments. And then by December of next year, local governments, if they did not participate in this public review period, would have to create and publish their own local housing needs assessment. So the nice thing is that by completing this public review, we can take pressure off of our study to be completed by December of next year. And we are using grant money for the second half of the study that Sheridan is doing through that Livable Centers program. But we were paired with the city of Edgewater for the procurement of the consultant for that. So there's definitely potential that it could take a little bit longer and it could continue past December of next year. So really for Sheridan, there's no reason not to complete this public review and get our credit. So with that, we'll kind of do some high-level review, next slide, of some of the key findings of the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And I think for tonight, next slide, wanted to pull out some of the things that were applicable to Sheridan. So they did a lot of data. There's a whole toolkit that you can kind of download data for your city. You could create slides for tonight's presentation, staff reports, all of that. So again, just want to hit some of the high level points. There was more data in there. But a couple of key findings here on the screen that you're all probably pretty familiar with. I did want to take a second really to give City Council, both current City Council and previous City Councils, kind of kudos for a lot of the work that we've done with housing already to address some of these gaps. So even prior to being told that these are issues and concerns that are coming up, I think City Council's been pretty proactive on a lot of these items. Looking back over the past 10 years, we've had the Habitat for Humanity project. So that was a for sale housing development at an initial sale to residents making 60% or below area median incomes. And then they're allowed to resell it up to 80%. And then our Bonsai Apartments project, which is rental units targeting residents making between 30 to 60% AMI. So pretty deeply affordable. And again, just wanted to give council credit for a lot of the work that we've already done there. Next slide. So through this regional housing needs assessment, DRCOG came up with what I would kind of call their crystal ball for how much housing is going to be needed, both in the next 10 years and then looking out further to 2050. So they're estimating about 250,000 units, new homes, to both catch up for where we're behind and then stay on track through 2032. And then overall looking at about 500,000 new homes by 2050. So pretty big numbers. Next slide. So they broke those numbers down, again, current need is kind of like what we're in the hole on, you know, how many we need just to get up to where we should be today, and then projecting 154,000 units between now and 2032. Next slide. And I think this slide is pretty interesting. So the distribution of needs. So when you kind of look at the bars here, what I wanted to point out is that at 80% AMIs and higher, the market does a really good job of producing enough housing to meet our demand. So you don't see a lot of gap there where the market is not producing enough housing to meet those AMI demands. However, when you look at our 80% and below, and especially at 50% and below, the market is not producing enough housing. So you can kind of see there on the far left, 0 to 50% AMIs, there's a pretty big gap between what is getting produced right now and what we really need. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that at 50% and below, there almost always is some sort of subsidy attached to the unit. So that's part of the reason why it's more difficult to build those housing units with, you know, the lack of, we don't have as many low-income housing tax credits as we truly need. But again, I think we're pretty familiar with that program here in Sheridan through our experience with Bonsai. So thank you all for that. Next slide. What DRCOG did is they worked with Eco Northwest, who was the consultant, and they basically came up with a model. So once they had these overall numbers for Metro Denver, where we need to be on housing, they developed this model to kind of allocate the types of units that were needed, both in terms of AMIs, ownership versus rental opportunities, geographies, all of that was kind of based on this model. So what they looked at was both current and future numbers in the categories that you see there on the slide. So next slide. So before we look at those numbers, I think it's really important to be clear. DRCOG has been very clear through this process that the model and the numbers are really to show the magnitude of the issue that we're facing right now. So they're not supposed to be interpreted as quotas or targets that we need to meet. So again, they're just trying to show what the need is across Metro Denver and then bring that down to the local level to show how cities may individually address some of these challenges. So don't look at the numbers as like we have to do X, Y, and Z or we'll be, you know, punished in the future. It's not to do that. It's really to just show from what they're seeing at a regional level how they bring that back to the cities. So next slide. So we'll look at some numbers here from the city of Sheridan. So the first number is just our current housing supply. So through their report, estimating about a little over 2,600 units here in the city of Sheridan. And I did want to point out, so as I was kind of preparing for tonight's presentation and looking at their study, I was also looking at our study with EPS to just see, are the numbers comparing favorably, right? Are we having any big disagreements between the two reports? So thankfully we're not. I looked at the EPS study. EPS estimated about 2631 for our units. So we're talking a difference of 9 units there. So I think between both DRCOG's study and the one that we ourselves are paying for, I think we're getting some really good data from both of them. Next slide. So looking at dwelling types in the city of Sheridan, again, compared very favorably to what EPS has in their study, showing that just under 50% of our housing stock is single family. In the EPS study, it's about 47%. And I would also point out that compared to our neighboring jurisdictions, so in our study, we were compared to Littleton, Lakewood, some of the South Metro cities. We have one of the lowest percentages of single family besides Denver. So Denver is really the only other city that we were compared to that had a lower percentage of single family dwelling units. Next slide. So taking a look at DRCOG's projected 10-year housing need in Sheridan. So they are estimating that we need about a little over 1,000 units here in Sheridan. So when you look at our current housing stock numbers versus what they're projecting, that's about 40% more units than we currently have today. And you can see from the bars here, that big blue bar, that is in the 0 to 50% AMI range. So a little over half of those units, they're saying you should probably be looking at that 0 to 50% AMI range. But the other side of the story there is a need for market rate housing as well. And the other thing I wanted to point out, so these numbers I think are from 2022. So what you're not seeing on here is the impact of the Bonsai Apartments development. So if we, we're going off of these numbers and said we needed 600 units in that range, Bonsai would take care of a decent chunk of that. So just something to think about, especially with Bonsai, you don't see that showing up in the numbers just yet. But again, just think about that as, hey, we just did that. It's not showing up in the numbers, but how does that compare to what they're saying we might need to be looking at?
Yeah. How many units is Bonsai officially?
149.
Okay.
All right, next slide. So you might be wondering, how did they come up with that number? So what they did is they created this model. So they looked at both current and anticipated future numbers to come up with all of these numbers. So the three bars that you see on the left, kind of the dark brown, the light blue, and then the other blue color, those are our current numbers. And then the right three are like future projection numbers. So under their model, which again, we don't have to fully agree with it, but it is a model that they put together. They're projecting that about 70% of that demand is caused by expected future conditions here in Sheridan. So, you know, it's not driven by our current employment characteristics, our current population or current transit access, but again, really looking toward the future to say there are changes happening at a state level and just demographically that is driving a lot of the need there. So for me, I think that's a really great problem to have because it means for Sheridan, we can really get ahead of those numbers. We can plan for those numbers. We can kind of take this into account when we're looking at projects and approving things. If you were a city that had a lot of, you know, kind of backup in your housing stock, you would see those three bars on the left be a little bit bigger and say, you just don't have enough housing right now for what you already have. So I think for us, it's really great that we're not, you know, playing catch up. We can really be proactive about things
This
moving
particular
forward.
one through 2050.
That is a great question. I don't remember.
Okay.
Right, next slide. Looking at some permitting trends here in the city of Sheridan. So what you'll see is that our permitting for housing is highly project dependent and we don't have a lot of natural growth going on. So again, you're not seeing bonsai accounted for in these numbers. If you did, there would be a pretty tall blue column at the end on the far right. And what you do see is that our last major market rate housing development was the Avana on the Platte project back in 2008. So that's the 300 units, the bar there kind of in the middle. Next slide. So they also broke it down, you know, looking at of these, you know, a little over 1,000 units, what are their projections for rental units versus owner occupied. So what you'll see here on the renter slide is definitely a strong emphasis on those units targeting residents making under 50% of the area median income, which again, we've already addressed a big chunk of that with our bonsai project. And then you also see that there is still a demand for some market rate rental options in Sheridan. Then our next slide, when you look at home ownership, I think you see that it's much more balanced. So it's much more balanced across the different AMI bands. And actually, I think there's a little bit higher of a need on the other higher AMI ends of the spectrum there. So that was kind of interesting. And then our last slide, taking a look at cost burden. So this chart is showing our cost burden households. So these are households that are spending more than 30% or more than 50% of their income on housing. Unfortunately, as we all know, that number has increased since 2000 and about in 2000, it was about 2/5 of the population. And in 2022, it's almost 2/3. So it's sad to see that number continue to rise. But where I kind of wanted to wrap up today, so again, this is a kind of like a data-only housing needs assessment that they did. Where we're at is we want to come up with some strategies to kind of work on these numbers over the coming years, and that is what we are working through with our Livable Centers grant. So in the coming months, I think we're going to be taking a lot of the data that you see in DRCOG's regional housing needs assessment, and then what we're working on here locally. And through that grant, we're going to hire a consultant and we're going to come up with a bunch of different strategies that we could implement to maybe work on some of these numbers. If there were things that we wanted to target, if there's types of units that we're not seeing being built in Sheridan that we want to go after, basically, what do we need to do to get those units built here? And then there's a strong land use component with that as well, especially with everything that has come out of the state. So next, and almost final slide. Just a huge thank you to Dr. Cog for preparing this housing needs assessment and for allowing us to use it, especially the template, staff report, and presentation. I could not have put this together as quickly as I did without all of their help there. There is some more information there if you're curious about that state bill, DOLA, anything else that's going on. And like I said earlier, I think a lot of work went into this report, and it's just a really good thing to be able to have to check our work against with EPS and see if the numbers are lining up. So with that, last slide, open to any questions if you have them or comments.
I did read through most of the big report that was in there. I have to say I didn't read every sticky in that last bit there where it was like pages of sticky notes. I kind of went, oh, I can't, that's too much. But I like that they got feedback from so many different stakeholders, and that the report reflects that, and that it's not like some of the things we've heard coming out of the state where it's pointing at the city and saying it's all your zoning cities that are causing us this problem. You know, it really reflects the many different issues that are keeping housing from being built, including just market conditions and construction costs and all that kind of stuff. So I really liked the report, I guess is what I'm getting at.
All right, would you like me to pass that comment
Yes,
along?
please. If
All
you
right,
want to include some comments, I think that's,
sure. Happy to kind
I
of
don't,
draft something.
yeah. What's I going to say? I think it's a little daunting. I'm sure it is for everybody to see that much need and wonder, you know, what can we do? Where are we going to put it here in Sheridan? But
1,000 units.
yeah.
We got places that can get some units, but 1,000 is questionable. Depends on what happens in the future. We'll see where things go, but there's places where we can get 300-400 units. There's some spots, vacant spots all around Sheridan that been just sitting with nothing on it. So
But they belong to somebody.
yeah, I
That's the
know.
problem.
That's the problem.
They don't belong to us.
Yeah, we might have to pull another little pub corner thing there. But yeah,
Yeah.
we just gotta just figure it out and
Like
look and
everybody,
see.
keep our eyes open for opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and maybe to see if we can. I think we even though we've made really great progress with bonsai, you know, I think the next council probably should look at considering if they want to do inclusionary zoning. I mean, I still think it looks like there's a greater need here for affordable, you know, versus market. I think if market wants to come in, market will figure out a way to do it, you know. But, you know, I think we ought to focus in our city on making sure we get the affordable and handled the best we can and make it possible, you know, at least come up with some ways to add to that funding stack so
Yeah.
that they can, yeah, so that we can contribute to it, you know.
I mean, I wish we had the space like down there, you know, on Santa Fe on the other side, all the modern homes and apartments that they have. I think they're what, maybe 4 or 5 stories.
Mhm.
Like, I think America is behind on a lot of stuff like that when you travel the world and you go to some of these other countries and they're you know, apartment complexes are, you know, 40 stories, 50 stories, you know, but
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't disagree with, you know, how the state identified some of our corridors as
yeah.
transit corridors. If we can get the transit more regularly, I would agree, you know, that
Yeah,
maybe we should
yeah.
build more apartments along Federal if we have the right transit to support it, you know? But again, the opportunities have to come up if, you know, the lots aren't available for
Yeah.
sale, you know, then what do you do?
Yep.
Great.
Other feedback on the study? No, I think it's good stuff in there to spark some good thoughts, and I hope the same kind of, you know, recommendations that we get out of our own study will help us have a good direction, you know. And thanks for presenting it. I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you so much.
Yeah, because the one thing that they that they don't talk about is the parking.
Yeah,
They want all these units,
I know. Yeah,
but or parking lots.
I know. Yeah, you have to have parking lots if you don't have the transit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for that. And we'll move along. We've got receive and file the financial reports as our next item. I have a motion from Councilmember Kelly and a second from Councilmember Camacho. Any discussion on the financial reports or questions? No? Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have staff reports. City Clerk, what do you have for us tonight?
Just a couple of things, Madam Mayor. So I'm excited to say that we've got candidates for all seats that are open.
Yes.
We're having an election.
Right.
Yes. Upcoming dates for that, we have the lottery drawing on September 3rd at 5, and then candidate bios are due also on September 3rd, so we can get the newsletter out. We're doing a special election edition of the newsletter, so that should be fun, and then getting all the candidates up on the website. And then also on September 3rd, you guys have the Taco Tequiza, so make sure you see that invitation. Join Andrew for that and the planning department. I believe it's 5 to 7, 5 to 8, 5 to 7. Yes,
Depends on how good the party is. Right?
that's right. And then the last thing is Open Meeting is rolling out a new software update. So I'm going to be sending out an email for you guys to update your system. So be on the lookout for that. And then happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions for the clerk? No? All right. City Attorney, do you have anything for us?
Yes, hi, how are y'all doing?
Oh, you're waiting for a response on the legislative update, aren't you? You sent it and I keep not responding, so sorry.
No problem. No, I ended up sending it out to all of council and then all the department heads in the city as well. So our office will begin to work with staff on any ordinances. One we brought up tonight, at least in the forefront of my mind, was the registration. We now have ability to do certain things. So we'll see if that's of interest to the city, talk to obviously Chief and Devin. But there's more than that,
Okay.
which of course is every legislative session. So yeah, we'll just
And
start
there's
working
still
along
things
through that.
happening now.
Yeah,
so-
yes, yeah, yeah. So, then, as you know, since before my time, the city of Sheridan's been represented by Keller Rohrbach in the opioid litigation. And I just wanted to let you all know that that firm will be casting a master ballot on behalf of their clients in the upcoming weeks, which will include the city of Sheridan's approval of Purdue Pharma's amended bankruptcy plan. That's the recommendation from the Keller Rohrbach, and then it also will allow it to get approved and get things moving with the finalization of those settlements. I think the last one was actually disapproved, and I can't recall the exact reason why, so they had to go back down, amend it, and figure out what to do differently to try to get court approval of it. So just to let you know, there's two more settlements coming out of this. The Sacklers and Purdue did settle, but that's also pending bankruptcy. And there'll be another one that's, I think about 5 to 8 of the smaller ones. So there'll be sometime in the next month or so, I'll have something before you all, likely a resolution like you see in the past, approving a MOU and all of that. So that will be coming your way. And if you have any other specific questions on that, when you get the packet or beforehand, just let me know and I can.
Depending on status, you might want to have us sit down with the next mayor about that whole
Oh.
topic too, because I know
Absolutely.
I've kind of been the one that's been copied on all of that
Mhm.
that's been going on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just something where I've kind of jumped back in oddly anyways, I worked on it back when I still lived in West Virginia. I mean, that's how many, 7 years ago,
Yeah.
6.5, 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
it's been
That's
a
how
long
long this
time.
litigation's been going on. It's crazy. So anyways, that should be coming to you all, and thank you for pointing that out. I'll make sure specifically
Yeah.
to meet about that and give a more thorough report on that. Then finally, just as a side note that I noticed, the newsletter was great as always this month. Great, that went out today
Yeah.
for the city of Sheridan. And I believe Wendy and the clerk, do you all do the newsletter?
Wendy. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, she did. Yeah, it was a great newsletter. And it reminded me to bring my mom and my best friend to Forte's when they're in town this month to go get some peaches. And then, and then that news story, that was a really great news story on Sheridan. And then my mom also said she wants to make sure to come to the Polish pottery outlet. So we've got a day in Sheridan plan coming up. So that's all I have for you all right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, city manager, what do you have?
Thank you, Mayor. Not a lot, but just to quickly follow up on the city attorneys with regards to the opioid settlements. And we will absolutely bring the new council members and people up to speed on that whole thing. But as you guys are aware, by agreeing to participate through Keller Rohrbach and with their actions, that allows us to receive, and I kind of put receive in quotation marks, a portion of that settlement, but we've already dedicated or agreed to as a city to take our dedications and put it into the Arapahoe County pot, right? Which is being used to fund all the programs through our I can't remember the name of the committee right now. It's the Arapahoe County Opioid Committee, and there's a whole bunch of projects that they're doing, and that's where they get their funding from that. And if you remember, I sit on that. Well, actually, we're represented as the Tri-Cities on that committee. So we have council member Steve from
Ward.
Inglewood, Steve
Ward, right? Is it Ward?
Ward. Yeah, I think that's right. Steve Ward is our voting representative for the Tri-Cities on that. And I attend the meetings, or have been attending the meetings, just kind of informationally and keeping track of things like that. So that's gonna, and I'll bring you guys an update on that when we have a good update spot to talk about the programs and where they are. They're kind of in phase 2 now and looking at a second round of funding that will look at bringing funding to some of the current projects and potentially new projects as well. So it's a lot of money. Remember, it's funded out over 20, 25 years or something like that.
Yeah, it's a while.
Yeah, it's a long-term process. But that's why we do that, and that's what that process is. Just wanted to remind you guys. Okay. Mayor, then the only other thing I've got, and I think I just mentioned this one, we did our kickoff meeting with ESG for the building energy improvements, so we'll get those things going here pretty soon.
Okay.
The anticipation is that we will hopefully be done early next summer. So early second quarter or so, be done with those improvements. So looking forward to those. Jenna sold my thunder, the reminder on the Tequiza. So, and that's all right, you're good. The only other thing I got is that we're working on flu shots for the staff and to have like a flu shot thing here for them. And I'll let council know so you can come in and get, if you want to come in and get
Thank
flu
you.
shots, when we're going to do that. So it was through Costco is going to do them here free for us, as long as you got your
Signed up and
coverage and
everything,
stuff like that. You'll be able to come in and just show them your insurance card and get a shot here. And I'll let you guys know when that is.
Great.
That's all I've got now, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions before we move along?
Real quick, Devin, or Chief might be, are they working on the floors down there yet?
We're getting bids in on those to get that work done.
Okay,
So we're looking at the floors and also looking at a build out or kind of a replacement, how are we saying, refurbishment or replacement of the locker facilities, locker room
Okay.
facilities, bathroom facilities, all that. So complete remodel of that, and then and also a permanent fix to the floors.
okay,
Great.
all right. Thank you.
Okay. Chief?
Just a few things here. August 11th, we were at Fort Logan Northgate at the backpack giveaway. We partner with Precious Child and we got 200 backpacks. We gave away about 150 backpacks there. Some of the kids didn't take them. They were good. So we took the extra 50 and we took them to the high school. So that was nice. Couple days later on August 13th, we went back to Fort Logan Northgate and they had the back to school night. So we went and bought a bunch of ice creams from Costco and spent some time with the kids, and they had pizza and we gave them ice creams and interacted with them and the parents. So that was really nice. And a couple days later after that, we had a coffee with the cop over at Starbucks, and that was really well attended, and Wendy did a great job over there.
Yeah, that's a
One of
nice
our-
little video of you.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that one, but I know she was taking a lot of pictures, so.
It's cute.
So that was good interaction with our community as well. So, on another note, our co-responder, we've been without, well, we've had fill-in co-responders, but not a specific one for us. We did a couple interviews last week and both of them were very qualified. We chose one, and he is going to start going through the process and getting trained up. And so hopefully we'll have our own co-responder within the next month or so. I can bring him in and introduce him so that you could ask him some questions, but
That's great news.
yeah, it really is. So they were dry for a while. They weren't
Yeah.
getting any applications and then all of a sudden they got several. So that was good. And then I was talking to Councilman Whitaker and we were talking about the drone that we do have. And one thing we had never done is do a demonstration for you all. Didn't know if you might be interested in doing that. We could do it if you wanted. The next council meeting, we can do it before the work session, like around 5:30. If you wanted, I could bring in the drone operator and we can do that. So would there be interest in that? We have a few, 1, 2, 3, few people.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
All
to
right.
see that.
Would that work then? Okay. So then we'll, yeah, we'll send out an email, but we'll set that up for our next council session and we'll do it about 5:30 so we can do it before.
Sounds good.
That way we can ask some questions and I know Councilman Whitaker brought up the drone as a first responder. They call it a DFR program. We can talk about the differences between that and what we currently have and just to kind of give you a little more background on that as well.
Okay.
So, and I'd answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Keep
Thank you.
going. Thank you all. Next, we have the minutes of the regular city council meeting of August 11th, 2025. I have a motion from Councilmember Kelly, a second from Councilmember Whitaker. Any question about the minutes or comments? Please cast your votes. The motion is approved unanimously. We have the consent agenda, approval of disbursements, authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from August 1st, 2025 to August 15th, 2025 in the amount of $418,349.69 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds. I have a motion from Councilmember Moreno and a second from Councilmember Whitaker. Any question or discussion on the disbursements? Please cast your votes. Motion is approved unanimously. We have no public hearing tonight. We have 3 resolutions. We have Resolution 19 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of Sheridan, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Colorado Energy Office regarding the High Efficiency Electric Heating and Appliances Grant. I have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second by Councilmember Moreno. Yeah, I know we didn't have time to do agenda review, so if there's anything you want to share before we vote on all of these or each of
Right.
them.
Right, no worries, Mayor. So as council will recall, this is the grant that took the place of the grant um, that we initially had with through ESG for the energy efficiency improvements to the public buildings here. And originally it was going to cover the full amount, and then it got clawed back by the state as part of their budget hole filling process. So what remains is the $250,000 in this, the HEHA, the High Energy Efficiency Grant. This is pretty much boilerplate. We have to approve it for the city to receive the funds. So
Probably good to do it tonight so they can't take it away.
I don't even know if they could
Maybe they
still
still
take,
could.
I'm not holding my breath. I don't know. So, yeah,
Who knows
hopefully,
what's gonna happen in the
hopefully
budget
they
season.
don't.
Okay, any questions about ordinance 19 or comments? I just want to say I appreciate Mel, looking out for us, getting our application in
Yep.
and getting awarded a grant. And I appreciate the state and Colorado Energy Office giving
Absolutely.
us that grant so that
Yep.
to offset some of our expense of
Every little bit.
putting in all these improvements. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we can have a vote on it. That motion is approved unanimously. Okay, next we have Resolution 20 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of Sheridan, Colorado, approving a contract with Pavement Restoration, Inc. for asphalt surface conditioning services. I think we have Jeremiah online if we want to have any discussion, and I've got a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second from Councilmember Kelly. Is there anything you want to share with us, Sion? Yeah.
We're getting it switched over now.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Council and Madam Mayor, that I couldn't be there in person tonight
No
for
problem.
my first presentation to you all, but hopefully I've provided enough information in the memo to kind of give some background as to what we're doing and why. And I'm just going to speak very briefly to that memo that was sent out.
Great.
So, as mentioned, we're talking about two resolutions tonight that are essentially for pavement management and keeping our roads in good functional condition states. And so the first one is for the Pavement Restoration, Inc. for the asphalt surface conditioning services in the amount of 310,000 and 0 cents. And the second one, which I've just combined into this presentation, will be to A1 Chip Seal Company for a not to exceed amount of 168,580. And this will be for providing crack seal and crack fill services. Next slide, please. I thought that this slide would be kind of good just for some general information in terms of a high overview of pavement condition and kind of what happens to it over its lifespan and why these early treatments are good in order to keep our pavement in a good condition state. So there's kind of a common statement that's used to keep good roads in good condition first. And so often communities may ask, well, why aren't you dealing with the roads that are in, worse shape? And it's not that there's not plans to deal with that in the future. It's just, we want to keep the others from falling off the cliff, so to speak. So uh, my approach, and I think just general civil engineering approach or pavement management approach is to treat good roads in, as your first order of business. Fortunately for Sheridan, because of the bond measure, you can see I've kind of highlighted where I feel the city of Sheridan roads kind of where they're at with the index is what it's referred to. It's a scoring system that's, a rating from 0 being failed and 100 being perfect or new. I personally, I feel like our roads are in really good shape. Generally speaking, they are starting to show some signs of wear, and so we're going to have to really start focusing on what are we going to do to keep those roads in good condition. And so this is part of that. You can go ahead and click on that for a minute. What this starts showing is kind of where we're at right now. We need to start reinvesting to kind of keep that curve, the bell curve, in that good to excellent range for as long as we can. And then over time, that effort gets a little bit more intense and more expensive. You can click it a couple other times just to kind of show for the next 3 years, kind of what we're looking at doing over time. It's just going to get more expensive the farther we fall down that deterioration curve. There is no avoiding it. It's like anything, nothing's forever. So all we can do is try to manage it the best that we can. Next slide. So going back to the surface conditioning, this is really about rejuvenating the oil or the chemistry within the oil to maintain its flexibility, to kind of help restore what weather has done, primarily UV oxidation. And this just happens with age. I like to point out age because a lot of people think automatically, well, if it's 10 years, 15 years, it's automatically in bad shape. And that's not entirely true. Age is a factor, but it's there are just so many other things that are involved with that. So for surface conditioning or using reclamite or, restoring the maltines that are in the oil basically kind of helps tighten the surface up. It closes a lot of the small cracks that are kind of hard to see, unless you really study the pavement. But you'll notice kind of a roughness to the pavement over time. And this will just kind of help seal that off, maintain some flexibility, put color back in the pavement, which is important for asphalt, and just extend its lifespan. And so this treatment, has a range between 2 to 5 years. Uh, there's a lot of factors that play into that. Again, weather, traffic, those sorts of things. But this should give us the opportunity to treat the majority of our roads. And when I say the majority of the roads, reclamite is not a good candidate for high volume roads where you have high traffic or just a lot of volume in general. Just because the traffic tends to kind of wear that out. So we're going to reserve those roads for next year, doing some other maintenance applications such as chip seal, slurry seal, and cape seals. And then obviously you have mill and overlay and then ultimately reconstruct. But this is kind of that first step in sustaining our roads in good shape. Next slide. So the next contract is with A1 Chip Seal Company. They are going to be providing the crack seal and the crack fill. They look very similar to just the untrained eye, but generally speaking, for crack seal, it's a rubberized sealant that you blow out the cracks. You apply the sealant with some overbanding on the top. Whereas for the wide crack, it's like a hot applied mastic that has an aggregate in it, and it's used to fill the wider cracks or areas that are somewhat uneven or cracks that kind of start to dip. That's what it's referred to, is when they start riding really rough. So this provides us the opportunity to fix that. I do want to comment on this, that the city has in the past done some crack sealing on our own, but after evaluating this a little bit, it's just been determined that we really can't do it safely or efficiently, just because of the amount of people that are involved in trying to do traffic control. And you have to blow the cracks out, you have to seal them up, and then street sweep and do all of these things. So we just feel like it's more economical, more efficient to do it on a contracted basis, and we can target the whole entire city at once. And so going back to these two treatments, crack seal has anywhere to 3 to 7 years lifespan, whereas for the mastic it can be 5 to 8 years. That's a very wide band, and it's just because there's a lot of things that play into that. Snow removal can damage crack seal if it's not done correctly, or if we have extreme winter freeze thaw cycles that can kind of fatigue the sealant. So there's just a lot of things that play into that, but this should hold us over in preparation for doing the bigger functions such as chip sealing and overlay in the future. And next slide. That's pretty much all I have, and I'm available to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Appreciate that overview. I appreciate you putting it in layman's terms so we can understand what's going on and giving us some pictures. It's really helpful. Anybody have any questions right now on the plans that are included in either of these resolutions?
I had a bunch of questions, and Jeremiah already answered them via email, so
Oh, great.
feel really confident. Thank you.
Anything we should know?
I think part of it was my confusion because of A1 Chip Seal is the company, and in my mind, I was thinking we were doing a chip seal in addition,
Oh, okay.
and so that was where a lot of my confusion came in.
I kind of had suspected that might have been the case. It's easy to do. A1 chip seal actually does provide the chip sealing and the slurry sealing, and in fact, they've done work for the city in the past. But they also do the crack seal, and they're actually doing patching now, and so they're kind of a full service agency. The Reclamite, on the other hand, that's kind of a specialized area because of the proprietary materials that are produced through what's called Tricor. So you have to be an authorized supplier of that. So they actually come from Texas, but they travel all over the Western United States, just mobilizing from one area to the next. So they're doing several agencies here in Colorado, up until probably end of September-ish. So we'll be one of the last on their list.
Great. Well, thank you. I was telling the city manager, I was just going to ask him what's up with pavement. Are we going to do anything this year? And then these came in the packet. It was like an answer to what I was thinking about. So
We have a few more. We've got to do some line striping, but I'll bring those forward at a
Okay.
later date.
great. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, then we can have a vote on resolution 20. Motion is approved unanimously. Then we have resolution 21 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of Sheridan, Colorado, approving a contract with A1 Chip Seal Company for crack seal and fill services. I have a motion from Councilmember Moreno and a second from Councilmember Whitaker. Anything else you thought of in those last few seconds that you want to ask? No? Okay, let's vote then. Motion is approved unanimously. All right, and then we have a memo regarding the volunteer firefighters semi-annual report, and that was included in your packet. I always forget, do we do an acceptance on that, or yes? Okay. So I have a motion from Councilmember Moreno, a second from Councilmember Kelly. So I guess that's to accept the memo, right? Okay. So anyone have any questions about the volunteer firefighters semi-annual report? Okay, please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. And mayor's choice, I just had a couple things. I wanted to second what the city attorney said. I really appreciated the work that went into the videos that were on the news from staff. Both of those were really great, and highlighting both our businesses and our upcoming work on the Bear Creek Trail. It was fantastic. So thanks, Wendy, I'm sure you worked some connections to get those folks here. So thank you, appreciate it. And Andrew did great being interviewed there. You always represent our city well, so thank you for that. And then I wanted a couple of events to mention that are coming up. I've been invited, and you may have also seen some information about the Longer Table Littleton event. That's on September 24th. It's a long table. Everybody sits down and has dinner together. So it's supposed to be like a community bonding, anti-loneliness kind of thing. But a lot of the local nonprofits are involved in that, and there's going to be some great food, I heard. And I think the seats are only like $5. So, if you want to come sit down at a table with everyone in Littleton and lots of people from our area here, I think I'm going to get a seat there. But I don't know if you'll be next to me because it's a really long table. So
I won't be there.
won't be there.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
Chris Brown is in town.
Oh, sorry. Okay. But anyway, if you're interested in Longer Table, you can just look it up, I think online, Longer Table Littleton, you can get a ticket for that. And then the next day, as Andrew reminded us, we have the Arapahoe County Open Space Luncheon. So if you want to do that, you should have an invite that you can RSVP to. I thought it was a little confusing how they want you to RSVP for a group or something, but you did it just on your own, right? So I think we can each just RSVP for ourselves and sit together when we get there.
I did it for myself. I think,
Yeah,
I think they'll see everybody from Sheridan and
Right.
pick us at the table.
yeah. But it's always a good time. We walk away with a big check. What more can you want? Food and a big check. So, so if you have time that day, please RSVP for that. That's all I have. Anybody from council have anything they want to share?
I do.
Go ahead, Jay.
Learned a lot going door to door, getting my signatures to get back on the ballot. Of really diverse people here in Sheridan. Along with these conversations came, issues that people had that they wanted, me to address. And so, there's apparently some really heavy vehicles parking and driving on South Irving, like trucks full of concrete that may be heavier than those streets can actually bear. And so down on that, what would that be, the 3000 block of South Irving, they were just hoping that code enforcement or some police presence to see that, the businesses are parking their trucks where they're supposed to be and not overloading them for the weight limits of our streets. That's kind of the as far as I could take that. Another couple of unrelated constituents mentioned kind of inconsistencies between code enforcement, public works, and law enforcement when it comes to, like, I don't know, one example was a leather chair that someone had put in someone's house, and they called to try to do something about it, and they were told that something would be done about it, and then nothing was done about it, so they called back and they were told it was their problem, and if you don't move it, we're going to ticket you. And then on a third call, all of a sudden the chair's gone. Oh, was it really scratchy? Oh, thank you. So just those three departments, communication between those three departments could just reduce the amount of anxiety that a couple of unrelated constituents were feeling with regards to their interactions with those. It's very timely, so I'm not even touching this.
Yeah,
I can hear it though.
maybe it's somebody else.
Yeah, I think it is mine. I'm sorry. Mentioned vehicles with expired plates, sitting for long periods of time or driving quickly through the neighborhoods and them feeling like there was really no accountability for those vehicles with expired plates that might be camping or breaking the law and speeding. But overall, what a amazing experience that a lot of us had in this last couple weeks, getting the support of our constituents to run for office again. And I'm really glad that I did it. And it is not easy to go door to door, and I appreciate everyone else that did it too.
You always
Serving
learn
is
a lot, though. You always learn a lot.
You really do. Both humbling and, I got some accolades as well,
Yeah.
But it just goes, it just goes to show that in public service, it's not always a thankful job. It's hard. It's humiliating sometimes. But if we don't do it, who will?
Mhm.
So I appreciate everyone here.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to share? No? No? Okay. Don't close that yet. We have another meeting.
Mhm.
Sorry.
He's ready to go.
All right. So we have an opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to council tonight. I don't see that we have anyone present who would want to speak to council. So we'll move on from that and we'll adjourn the regular meeting at 8:04 p.m. and move into our Sheridan Redevelopment Agency meeting. I will call to order the meeting of the Sheridan Redevelopment Agency for August 25th, 2025. The time is 8:04 p.m. And we have all members present except for members staying. Sorry, I'll slow down a little bit. Going too fast now.
Pros.
I'm trying to go fast for Anthony.
It's Anthony's fault that my computer's now frozen. Messed it all up.
I also promised Ernie I'd try to get us out of here, and then I talked a lot instead. Sorry, Ernie.
3 o'clock in the morning comes in.
Are we signing into open meeting for this? Okay.
We'll wait for the city clerk to ask us to log back in. Is that good?
Unfortunately, my whole computer's frozen.
Should we just do?
We're gonna just go old
Old school?
school.
Okay.
Yep,
Hey, old school. there
Got to
it is.
keep those skills in practice.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, can we have roll call, please? Or do we need to do that, or did I already cover it enough?
I think you're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll move on. We'll do the minutes, approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the SRA regular meeting of July 28th, 2025, and the minutes of the SRA special meeting of August 11th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion from Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Moreno. Any discussion or questions on the minutes? May I have a vote, please?
You want all in favor, say aye.
Oh, sure.
Aye.
I
Aye.
I,
Opposed? No.
Passes
Okay.
unanimously.
Next, we have the financial reports. Receive and file the financial reports.
I'll second.
I have a motion from member Camacho and second from member Kelly. Any discussion on the financial reports? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved unanimously. Next, we have the approval of disbursements. Authorized disbursements for August in the amount of $169,365.84 that have been or will be made for expenses referenced below. Legal expenses, none. Other professional services, $9,743.96. City support services, $158,906. Other expenses, $724.88.
so moved.
Second.
A motion from Board Member Moreno and second by Board Member Kelly. Any question on the disbursements? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? That motion is approved unanimously. And we have the new business, the Pinnacle report for June 2025. Is there anything? We have Wendy on. Do we want
We do
anything you
have
want to
Wendy
add
on.
to the Pinnacle report, or?
Go ahead.
No?
Miss
Yes, maybe.
Wendy, you're still muted. You were adding anything?
No, I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay, well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Great to be with you.
Okay, great. Then we will adjourn our meeting at 8:07 PM.
Hey, you can do it now, Aunt. You good now.
3-minute meeting.